I found out that the premium nursing home was neglecting and starving my grandmother, so I made sure their biggest donor saw everything. My grandma Rose raised me after my parents died when I was 8. She worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, taught herself to fix cars so we'd have transportation, and never missed a single school event even when it meant losing pay. When she had a stroke 2 years ago, I promised her she'd get the best care possible. I researched every facility within 50 miles and chose Willowbrook Senior Living because they had 5-star reviews, beautiful rooms, and a specialized stroke recovery program. The monthly cost was more than my mortgage, but Grandma deserved everything. The first few months were perfect. Grandma was getting physical therapy 3 times a week, eating well, and making friends. The staff knew me by name because I visited every other day. The director, Mrs. Brennan, would personally update me on Grandma's progress. They had family dinners once a month where I'd eat with Grandma in their fancy dining room. She'd gained weight, was talking more clearly, and even started walking short distances with her walker. Then, 6 months ago, Mrs. Brennan retired, and they brought in Mr. Carlson to replace her. He said he was modernizing operations to provide better care. He cut family dinners to save money. He reduced visiting hours for efficiency. He said too many visitors disrupted the residents' routines, and I could only see Grandma 3 times a week for 2 hours. The staff turnover started immediately. All the nurses who knew Grandma were replaced by cheaper workers. The physical therapist quit and wasn't replaced for a month, but Mr. Carlson kept assuring families that these were temporary adjustments. I noticed Grandma losing weight, but they said it was a normal fluctuation. Her clothes were hanging off her, and they said she was just being picky about food. She stopped talking as much, and they said it was part of stroke recovery. She had bruises on her arms, and they said her skin was just delicate. When I tried to visit outside approved hours to check on her, they wouldn't let me in. Security said it was policy. I started showing up at different times during my allowed visits, trying to catch them off guard. That's when I noticed patterns. Grandma's lunch tray would still be full at 2 in the afternoon, cold and untouched. She'd be in the same position I left her in days before. Her water cup was always empty. Her sheets hadn't been changed in so long they were yellow. Her medication chart showed gaps. When I complained, Mr. Carlson said I was being emotional and didn't understand elder care. He actually suggested I was projecting my guilt about putting Grandma in a home. He said families often imagine problems that weren't there. I knew something was wrong when Grandma grabbed my wrist with surprising strength during a visit and whispered, "Hungry," over and over. She'd lost 30 pounds in 3 months. Her doctor hadn't seen her in 2 months despite weekly checkups being part of her care plan. They kept saying the doctor was busy and would come soon. I tried calling state services, but I needed evidence. Willowbrook was clever about covering its tracks during scheduled inspections. That's when I learned about their annual charity gala. Willowbrook's biggest donor, Mr. Fitzgerald, gave them $2 million a year because his late wife had dementia and he believed in quality elder care. He always attended the gala where Mr. Carlson would parade him around to other donors, showing off the facility's success stories. The gala was being held in Willowbrook's main dining hall, the one they'd made beautiful for tours, but residents never actually used. I couldn't get in as a guest, but I got a job with a catering company for that night. While setting up, I slipped away and went to Grandma's room. She was lying in soiled sheets, hadn't been bathed in days, and was barely conscious. Her roommate, Mrs. Anderson, whispered that they'd been getting 1 meal a day for weeks. The staff took the good food meant for residents and sold it, serving them expired baby food instead. I took photos of everything. The empty medical chart, the moldy food in her bedside drawer she'd been hiding because it was all she got, the bed sores they hadn't treated. Then I went to the other rooms. Every resident was neglected, starving, or over-medicated to keep them quiet. Mr. Peterson was tied to his bed. Mrs. Williams had infections from unchanged catheters. Mr. Torres hadn't had his insulin in 3 days. During the gala, Mr. Carlson was giving his speech about Willowbrook's commitment to excellence. He was showing slides of staged photos with healthy-looking actors posing as residents. That's when I walked through the donor crowd in my catering uniform and handed Mr. Fitzgerald an envelope. Inside were the photos I'd taken, including one of Grandma's medical chart showing she'd lost 40% of her body weight. Mr. Fitzgerald stood up in the middle of Mr. Carlson's speech. He demanded to see the actual resident wing immediately, not the showcase rooms they prepared for the tour. Mr. Carlson tried to refuse, but Mr. and Fitzgerald said he'd pull his funding that second if he couldn't see where his money was going. The entire donor group followed Mr. Fitzgerald to the real resident wing. They saw everything. Full story on channel. Link below.